The following is a Candlepin Stars and Strikes rebroadcast featuring some of our most memorable recent programs.
Everybody, and welcome once again to Park Place Lanes here in Windham, New Hampshire. Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy. We have reached series championship time. We'll have our first qualifier at the end of today's show for the 1992 Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions, and we've got a couple of good bowlers ready to battle for this one.
Absolutely. Both bowlers on paper, if they reach their potential today, could have two 400s for the totals, but you never know. But last week, Dave Richards had a good streak, and Peter's going to see if he can do something to stop that.
Of course, it'll be a long wait for the guy who wins this show. They'll have to wait all the way until the spring to bowl for that Tournament of Champions money. But then again, the spot will be secure, and they won't have to worry about it for the rest of the year.
Exactly. So we should mention not only did they win this, the qualification, but the score that they qualify with will depend on where they're going to be seated. So a lot riding on the match.
All right, let's meet our bowlers and tell you more about it. First of all, our number 3 seed. He's bowled very well the last 2 weeks, 2 wins in a row from Derry, New Hampshire, Dave Richards.
Dave Richards carries an average of 124, 191 for a high single, 468 for a high triple, and 682 his qualifying score.
And Peter Flynn, our number 1 seed from Haverhill, Massachusetts, has been waiting 3 weeks to get this opportunity to try and defend that number 1 spot. Big left-hander comes in to take on Dave Richards.
Exactly, 127 for an average, 208 for a high single, 482 high triple, and his roll-off score a whopping 728.
We're going to have $110 in the bonus ball contest at the end of the show, $500 to the runner-up of this match, $1,000 to the winner, and of course the winning triple score, very important as Dan mentioned, to get into the Tournament of Champions and help set the qualifying scores for that event coming up next spring. A lot to tell you about. Stick around. 2 hours of Candlepin bowling coming up here on WNDS. We'll be back to start it with Dave Richards and Peter Flynn right after these words. We have reached championship week here on Stars and Strikes. Dave Richards with 2 wins in a row. Last week knocking off Bob Caleri with an outstanding 428. So that has put him into the finals against Peter Flynn. And of course, Peter had a pretty fine score himself in the roll-off. That's 728, far outdistancing the field. And so Dave Richards set to go. Get us started on lane 32. Championship match. Good crowd here, and they're expecting a good one in this one. And Dave is right in the pocket with that first ball. Crossing over to the 1-2 side.
He had 2 big ones, but this will be the biggest of them all if he can win this one. Not only knocking off the likes of Peter, but the ladder championship, Tournament of Champions qualifications. Of course, if he didn't have one of the other 2 wins, he wouldn't have a chance for this one. Right back in the pocket, 8-pin drop.
Incidentally, the roll-off for this tournament, final roll-off, was held at the Bowlerama in Portsmouth.
That's correct.
And for those of you who, excuse me, Dan, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the way the show operates, Dave misfires on that spare attempt. The roll-off process comes in 2 parts here on Stars and Strikes. The preliminary roll-offs, or semi-final roll-offs, if you will, are open to all men and women, whether you belong to the Pro Bowlers Tour or even a league or not. Doesn't matter. Everyone is eligible. You go to your local NHCBA center and get into that semi-final roll-off. The top 5 bowlers from each bowling center around the state then advance to the finals. And the top 5 from that finals then moves here to Stars and Strikes to settle it all in our stepladder format to determine a qualifier for the Tournament of Champions. Peter Flynn opening with a 9. Speaking of the Tournament of Champions, Peter was in the tournament last year. He was the number 6 seed, and all he did was come in and throw a 426 in the opening match, but it wasn't good enough. He lost to Tim Lipke in that match. Peter threw 3 strings, 131, 147, and 148, and still lost. Peter's been here a lot over the years. This is his 14th appearance overall. He is 10-3 up to this point. And he opens up with 19.
And a quick 9-pin advantage after 2 frames for Dave Richards. You'd like to make that a habit for the next 28 boxes. Back on the head pin, got a good break when he kicked the 2-pin out of there. Leaves himself to 3, 6, and 10. Interesting how Peter approaches the match. He will not look at his opponent. You can see him in the background behind Dave. He just has his head down, thinking about his own game.
Dave took a long time to study that one, and it's perfect. Put the ball in exactly the right spot.
No doubt about it. Just splitting the 3 and the 6. Missing the head pin. That's what you don't want to do. You don't want to make any mistakes. If you're up there, you just keep hitting the head pin. I would rather have the spread eagle on a spare. At least I know I hit the object pin. Dave's looking at the 4 horsemen left plus the 9 pin. Looks good. That close.
Pick up the 10, Dave.
There's probably a lot of people that try out for the Candlepin Stars and Strikes would probably rooting for one or the other bowler. At least it eliminates one of the bowlers from the next roll-off.
As it turned out, Peter Flynn back in the spring was with us 3 weeks in a row because he qualified for the Tournament of Champions on the last possible day. He won 2 straight matches, beating Mike Poulin and then John Maffio to win his tournament, his series. That qualified him for the Tournament of Champions, and then the following week he lost that great match to Tim Lipke. Peter's still looking for his first mark. Peter has the highest average as he fires the strike on lane 31. Peter has the highest average of the 5 bowlers in this series, 127.
Come on, David. Come on.
We have his average for the show.
No, but it would be...
well in the 130s.
Oh, absolutely. No question. There's a strike for Dave Richards.
Oh, looks good.
Wow.
Just a little light. The ball didn't finish for him, and I think that prevented him from either knocking down either the 5 or the 10 or possibly both.
Okay, pick up the 10, Dave. Pick up the 10.
72.5, Dave Richards.
He continues to be real sharp. He's yet to leave a pin standing. As you can see, spare 8, 10, spare 5, 10, strike 9, 10. Dave knows that's what you have to do with Lexa Peter. You can't make any mistakes and clean them all up. Every ball counts.
Peter looked up to the sky after that ball. The head pin, it appeared, cut right between the 6 and the 10. Flew around, and ordinarily you get at least 1 pin kicking out. But that time it went right in between, and he leaves it there looking for the spare on strike.
Interesting that just happened. You see?
Throwing him back at him.
Yeah. Interesting that Peter would stop in the middle, retrieve the ball, put the ball back on the ball rack, and then proceed to chop out the front of the 2-pinner.
It was right when he was about to deliver that one of Dave Richards' balls came loose from the ball return and started rolling up the other lane.
Yes, Dave didn't throw it. It was on its way back on the machine. That's pretty good defense.
For the spare, no.
Peter knew he was right around the center stripe, a little bit to the right, and that twisted it right around the 4-pin. He wanted to either be closer or directly at the 4-pin or way to the right. So a little David dodged the bullet there. Up for his 7th and 8th frames, leading by 16.
Dave's fun to watch. He's very animated.
He really is.
Reacts to just about every shot.
Oh, just missed. Just missed cutting that 3-pin. concentration level of both bowlers is so high. I mean, they just are bearing down every ball.
8 drop for Dave this time, 3-6. Reminder, if you'd like to come join us for a taping of Candlepin Stars and Strikes, Dave spares it up in the 8th. We tape on Sundays, and next Sunday, November the 3rd, we will be here for a taping session starting at about 9:30 in the morning, running till 4:30, 4:45 in the afternoon. So stop by for any or all of that time. Here at Park Place Lanes, very easy to find on Route 28 off exit 3, Route 93 in Windham, New Hampshire. Peter Flynn with a spare in the 7th. Eight fill, 9 fill, make it. He kicks out the 5 pin at the last moment.
A piece of wood way out in front of the 7 pin.
Yes. So Peter takes advantage of that little break. Gets the consecutive spares.
Dave Richards working on a spare in the 8th. And he knows Peter's got it rolling now, so he wants to continue marking himself. Well, possibilities here. 3, 6, 10 on the right with the 2 pin, but a couple pieces of wood. One in behind the 3 and the 6, and another behind the 2. He would like to have the one behind the 2 come up and freeze against it, but that way it would kick forward. That's twice. He almost missed cutting that 3 pin. Looks very sharp, just missing the cut shots.
116 with a box to come.
He's yet to put 2 marks in a row, although he's had 4 marks, 3 spares, and a strike in this game.
The 3 pin went. I'm sure he would rather have had the 10 pin go out. But he's got wood. This could go.
Spray and pray, I guess they say.
That's
Yeah,
it.
Got it. 126 in a ball. See the ball caromed off the wood right straight into the 4 pin. The wood took the 7. Gives him the spare in the 10th. Gotta hurry. He hurt him. Gave a grunt when he let that one go. He knew it was going to be out to the right. 130.
So Peter Flynn steps up, working on his 2nd of consecutive spares. And if Peter gets another mark in these final 2, he could make this thing close, if not take the lead. No, leaving the 2 pin.
That close is right on the object pin. Just too full, went right by the 2 pin.
And kicking out the extra pin that time as the 4 goes down, so he leaves the 3 and the 6.
3 and a 6 is right. Piece of wood on in between it and also to the left of the 3 pin. He wants to go right at the 3 pin.
Yes. Well, an 8 fill will tie it. 4th mark for Peter.
5 marks for Dave, but an 8 fill will knot it up, as Doug said. Well, it's doing better than that.
How about a 10 fill? 132 for Peter Flynn and a 2-pin advantage. This is championship week on Candlepin Stars and Strikes, and we'll return with game 2 and our bonus ball contest address in a minute. Peter Flynn to lead off the 2nd game here on Stars and Strikes in championship week. The winner of this match, $1,000 and qualification into the 4th annual Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions. And Peter Flynn knew exactly what happened to that ball as soon as he let it go. That was the ball he was looking for, and he bails out with a 9. That's a nice out after putting the first one right in the opening. Vicious hit that time. Watch out, this may go. Nope. And he cuts it down for the spare.
Tough shot for left-handers. That 7-pin, much like the 10-pin is to the right-hander. So everything was cruising along real good for Dave Richards and had a lead built up for a while and lost the lead in the last box to Peter Flynn. Trails by 2 after 1 game, so he's got to stay in there. Peter has that killer instinct. If you get 10, 12-pin lead on you, watch out. Ooh.
Wow.
All right, pick it up, David. Pick it up. Pick up the 10.
So it's a $9. Got a very nice letter from Marie McTighe and her husband Phil in Harvard, Mass. Letter came in over the summer. Dave Richards will carry the 9-pin and shoot at the 7-8. Marie talking about some of the early days that she remembers of candlepin bowling as Dave converts the spare in the second to match Peter's mark. And I didn't know any of this, Dan, but apparently you had heard this before, that bowling lanes were not always what they are now.
Well, you know, we don't really even want to call them bowling alleys anymore. They're bowling centers, and this is the stigma sometimes we get. We get a bad rap of these smoke-filled type of places.
Men's clubs.
Yeah.
Right.
That the entire public now, they're family recreational centers, and she talks, I don't take any of your thunder, Doug, but she talks about how the women for a while were barred from these bowling centers. And if you get a chance to read Flo Greenleaf's book on the history of candlepin bowlers, she does go into some of this, and it's quite interesting. We've come a long ways, baby. And I'm partial to some of the beautiful houses. One right here, Park Place Lanes, is just gorgeous, and believe me, women are welcome as the entire family. But it's interesting, yeah. Bowling has come a long ways.
Well, we want to thank Marie for her letter, and I'm sure she'll be happy to know that as of this season, the singles program here, Stars and Strikes, open to men and women, competing on an equal footing. So it won't be long, I'm sure, before we have our first woman in this group of 5 at the top of a roll-off. Spare for Peter Flynn in the 4th. Dave Richards filling his with a 7 and not quite converting. Wow.
Just slid into the pit just behind the 7-pin. But he regains the lead, 6 in this string and their game, and 4 overall, but he's opposite of spare already put up by Peter Flynn.
Boy, good second ball. Maybe a little full. Didn't carry the 6 and 10. Well, this thing is still very, very close as we're just about to the halfway mark. We'll take a break, and when we return, Peter Flynn will work on that spare in the 4th as Stars and Strikes continues. As promised, Peter Flynn on a spare in the 4th.
Trying to regain the lead.
And does, with a rocking 9-drop.
And that rocking pin is the 4-pin. Convert that for a spare, or try to make it 2 in a row.
Has a little room for error here with the wood. Oh, not that much. I thought maybe he had room to miss that, but he went a little too far to the right. Peter pretty disgusted.
The thing is, it's kind of like Larry Bird missing a foul shot sometimes. You know? People in the crowd just don't expect him to do that. I don't think he expects himself to do that.
And this time, he'll shoot at the 3-7.
I just think he's going to make this. 3-7, piece of wood in between.
Yes, you called it.
It just, it was a difficult shot with the wood in between. It was almost like he hit the 3-pin, and he's going to carry the 7-pin.
Wow. The 10-pin slides right behind the 6. The 10-pin is behind the 6. It's almost perfectly behind it. You can hardly see it.
There's still 2 pins up there. Not much room behind that 6-pin.
This game's tough enough without the pins hiding behind each other.
That's an 8, believe it or not. That's an 8.
Oh, how about this for mixing?
I guess that should be your method of attacking these pins, is try to go real light, keep the pins moving on the plate. Dave covers that for a spare. So it's a 5-pin lead in this game for Peter, 7-pin lead overall. Both have marks up in the 6th.
No, big Phil, strike, kick out the 4-pin this time.
Yeah, it looks like he was going to have another 9-pin drop and leave the 4, but the 4, as Doug said, kicked out this time by the 8-pin from behind.
I think Peter's still thinking about that single that he missed. Would have been 4 marks in a row if not for that.
Well, Davey's just going to have to get up there and try to do the same thing. Here's that 4-pin he missed for the spare. Watch this one. A whack. I'll teach you to stand up there. I don't care if I miss you by a foot. You're supposed to fall down. Dave Richards working on a spare in the 6th.
Dave from Derry, New Hampshire. Lives there with his wife Beth, and how about that? Strike on spare. The 8-pin, the last to go.
That time a little full, but he got a break. A big break, as a matter of fact. 2, 4, 6 he was looking at. The 2 and the 4 went down. Gives him the 6-pin with a plank. And these are the kind of shots you can't rush. You get all pumped up here and you want to just pick the ball up and fire it. Take a little extra time. Make sure of the shot. These are all important. Whoa.
Wow. Way
Use
over
it
the
all.
line.
It's free.
3 marks in a row for Dave Richards.
The wood's free. He used all of it that time.
Peter Flynn, final 2, game 2. Another light hit. Watch the mix.
Ooh, tough shot, though. Look at the wood. He's, well, second piece of wood behind. He could go real low on the wood and shoot almost at the 5-pin or come up high. He's up high on it, and he converts it anyways.
Tough shot.
Real tough.
Mark number 10, Peter Flynn. Missing the head pin that time. Take a couple extra.
It's in 124 through 9. 2, 4, 6, 10.
No. Peter works for A.W. Chesterton. Lives in Haverhill, Mass. with his wife Debbie. They have 2 sons, 9-year-old Sean and 6-year-old Craig. Does a lot of his bowling at the Pilgrim Lanes right in Haverhill. And match that's been this close. Every pin matters. Peter took an extra moment to think about that and let the wood settle and nails it down for the 10. So a 134 for a two-string total 266 for Peter Flynn. But that may not be good enough to have the lead after 2, because Dave Richards is working on a spare.
Oh, he got away with that. He put 2 fingers up. He thought he had a half Worcester on that ball. But instead he leaves himself 3 pins standing. The 1, 2, and the 8 in the back. Gotta hurry.
Nope. There it is for the 10. Dave works in Andover for MVP Sports. Spends a lot of his time bowling at the Melrose Bowl, and he's rolling in the 10th now. Looking for a mark which could give him the lead in the match.
Trails by just 5. Got the 1, 3, and 8, and lots of wood in between, so head pin he's going to be shooting for. If he catches that, he's got a good shot at making it.
Yes, the ball carried through to take the 8 pin.
Gives him a 131 plus the ball. 5 will be a tie. Anything over 5, he'll have the lead.
10 marks now for each bowler. Looks like a pretty good fill. He'll take 7. 138 for Dave Richards and a two-string total of 268. So Peter Flynn led by 2 after game 1. After game 2, Dave Richards leads by 2. We've got 1 game to go. We'll be right back in a minute. We have 1 game to go to settle this thing. One of these 2 guys is going to move on to the Tournament of Champions. There's the situation. A couple of good triples going. 268 for Dave Richards after 2. Peter Flynn, 266. And Dave is right in the pocket for all of them. That is his 11th mark.
Looking for the double. Missing the head pin. Well, watch out. 1 in the 7 left. And the way the angle of the wood is behind the head pin would lead you to believe if he's on the head pin, it's going to go towards the 7. Where he can, whether or not he can cover, it's another thing. Yeah, he does. Spare on strike. So it's one way to protect your 2-pin lead is put a couple marks up.
Peter Flynn now. He is right in the pocket also, but
Watch out. Oh, he wants to see that 10-pin go.
he got the 8 and the 9 out of there, but it's still a tough shot, the 4 and the 10.
Yeah, he's going to pinch the 4 on the left-hand side. It'll jump over there if he can get it clean. No, actually caught the dead wood first, and it kicked forward.
So quickly the lead goes up to 12. Well, a pretty good strike again in the pocket, but another split for Peter. This time the 4 and 10 only add in the 7-pin.
In some ugly wood. He's going to go after the wood in front of the 4 and 7.
Nope. And it'll be an 8. So Dave Richards with a golden opportunity here. The lead is 14, as you see. That does not include the fill on the spare right here. Add 6 more.
Making an even 20 so far. 4 horsemen left. 1, 2, 4, 7.
Oh, yeah.
3 in a row.
Yep. Dave is in another one of those little grooves, Dan. He's got 7 marks in the last 8 boxes. And he's not wasting any time moving over to lane 31 either.
He hung 2 balls in a row, though. Left, 4 horsemen left again. Same 4 he just converted for a spare.
And again! Wow.
He's got to stay within himself. So he gets pumped up too much. He puts a little more speed on the ball, and he misses the head pin to the right. That time he slowed it back down. He had the ball break from left to right in the 1-2 pocket, and cleared the 4 horsemen away.
4 straight marks for Dave Richards to start the string. And again, Peter Flynn with a pretty good-looking ball. He's turned away. He gets an extra pin as the 5 goes out, but now he's got the 8, 9, and 10.
Now he's going to go down low in the wood in front of the 8. Hopefully he'll sweep it across for all 3 of them. A little high in it. Six-pin lead now, and
Peter needs a mark.
Yeah, and still a mark facing Peter, already put up by Dave Richards. And again in the pocket, and
wow.
5, 7, 8. Here's one of those shots where you almost like to miss the 5-pin and clip the wood. The wood will swing, hopefully take the 5 and the 8 and across for the 7. No, he's on the inside.
Those 4 shots, Dan, could easily have been 4 strikes.
Right. Yeah, absolutely right. And here's a good example of, I think, a bowler overpowering the pins. The pins just seem to pick up and go out of there instead of staying around and mixing.
We'll take a timeout. Dave Richards, a very fast start here in Game 3. He has the lead, as you see, with 6 boxes remaining to decide this championship match, and we'll do it after these words. Dave Richards charging up to the approach, getting ready to go. He's got 4 marks in a row.
Brooklyn side that time. Now the 6 fill. This time a little more difficult. 3, 5, 6 triangle to the right with the 7-pin. Wants to play it on the right-hand side of the triangle.
Oh, yeah, he got it, I believe.
Oh, hit it and stood it back up. Look
Wow.
at the look. Look at the look on Dave's face. He hit it. It was going down. The wood hit it a second time and stood it back up.
That pin's got to be half. It is half in the channel.
Yep.
That pin is partially hanging over the channel. You can't see it really from this angle, but that pin is partially hanging over the channel. Wow. Still a 78 half.
And a 32-pin lead. Well, the wood turned for him. Against the 2-pin, it looks like he could sweep the wood next to the 2 right across into the 3, 6, and 10. A little low, and enough to carry it, though. Could have easily been 6 marks in a row.
Probably should have been.
You see the replay of that spare by Dave Richards. Peter Flynn's got to mount some offense now. And again, he's back in the pocket.
Well, at least this time he has something to shoot at. But the thing with Peter is, I mean, it's just as easily could be 3, 4 strikes in a row, and he is very capable of doing that.
I think at this point, Dave Richards could concede a spare to him rather than have him put up a strike, because he knows how explosive Peter can be, and what's really going to hurt him the most if Peter can put strikes together. This is not an easy spare. That pin is out in front. And he converts it.
So he'll gain some pins in this box, but in order to keep that gain, he'll have to mark again. Ooh. Well, that was his first punch out of this string. Everything else has been very solidly in the pocket.
Hasn't missed the head pin with the first ball this game at all.
Yeah, nice out by Peter for a 9. But Dave Richards with this fill in the 6th is going to go over 30 pins with his lead, most likely.
Well, he was off the head pin and he got a big break.
Oh boy.
That was that close to having a half Worcester. Instead, he leaves himself just 2 pins, the 7 and the 9, and lots of lumber down there. Looks like a makeable spear. Plays at the far left wood on the red line or above, and he converts that. That's going to make it real tough. Peter definitely has to mark out, but he's going to need strikes now. Oh, he's right in the pocket. Drop of 7. And he's going to go after the 4-7. Now, whether, well, wait a minute now. No, I think he's going to go right at the 5 and sweep all kinds of wood across into the 4 and 7. Ooh, he's took it down the middle. Oh, no. No, he either had to go way right, sweep both pieces of wood, or go at the 4-7. He went right down the middle, never touched the 7-pin.
Well, that leaves one box open of the two, but it's still going to take a mammoth effort from Peter Flynn here.
36-pin deficit. He gets 4 marks with 9 on it. There's the 36 extra pins. That's barring no marks by Dave, and he already has 1. So I would say he needs strikes, and there's one of them. And that's what Dave doesn't want, because he knows the ability that Peter has of throwing another one. He throws another one here. It's almost a new ball game. Oh, and Peter was jumping up and down. He knew that ball had a chance for a strike. Now his thought is to convert the 2, 4, 5, 7 for a spare and hope he throws another strike when he gets up next time.
Oh, he's got it.
Can't count him out. 33-pin advantage. He's going to need strikes when he comes up, obviously, but Dave can really put some distance now. If he puts at least 1 mark up, if he puts 2 up, it's not going to be mathematically out, but just about.
If Dave gets a 160, he will close out Peter Flynn, but to get 160, he's going to have to get 2 marks. Actually, he needs 161 to close him out.
Dave lofted that out further on the lane than normal and didn't have the time on the lane to break back for him.
9 bucks. He's at exactly 400 right now.
So whatever happens, unless he throws a triple strike, he's not going to lock Peter out. Double strike. 6-10 with the 7-pin.
Now, regardless of the outcome of the match, this could be an important mark here for Dave if he gets it, because it could drive up his total score, and he's got it.
That's right. He's already over 400.
For the second week in a row, Dave Richards has 17 marks. And he'll fill this last one. 142 plus a ball. It'll be 8 for an even 150. Fine ovation, well deserved for Dave Richards, and congratulations from Peter Flynn as well. 418 for Dave Richards.
Well, he's in. Depending on Peter, he's going to have to throw some strikes. We'll know after this frame. But certainly I would rather be in Dave's seat than Peter's. And that should just about do it.
In fact, it does. Yep. It'll be Dave Richards winning the match. $1,000, and he can sit back and relax until the spring for the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions. Of course, we may still see Dave on Stars and Strikes doubles, but he doesn't have to worry about his spot in singles. He is qualified, and wouldn't you know, there it is, the strike in the 10th for Peter.
That's the good news for Dave. The bad news for the rest of the bowlers is Peter's going to be back in the roll.
Yeah, I have a feeling we may see Peter again before the year's over. $386.
I was just going to say he's going to be close to 400 and lose again.
$393. One more ball to come. And it'll be an 8. 128. A handshake from Dave Richards. Fine match in our first championship tilt of the season. 418 for Dave Richards. 394 for Peter Flynn. We'll talk to both bowlers and have our bonus ball contest after these words. Welcome back to Candlepin Stars and Strikes. If our Tournament of Champions qualifiers or anything like this one, we're going to be in for a great season. This was a terrific match today.
Absolutely. Both bowlers were right on top of their games, and geez, you look at that last game by Peter, especially the first 5 boxes, any one of those could have been a strike or at least a spare leave, and he didn't get any breaks at all. Would have been even closer than it was.
Now, the good news for, as you said, bad news for the other bowlers, I guess, that Peter Flynn is still out there ready to challenge in future roll-offs, but for Dave Richards, he can just sit back now and wait until the spring.
Yeah, and Peter can come back and come in second again and second again until he wants to win. Really milk the system, you know.
Let's talk to our bowlers. First of all, how about a fine hand for Peter Flynn? He's going to get that runner-up check here for $500. Now, I'm sure this is not what you wanted. You don't want to keep getting the $500 check, but in any event, take it today. And boy, Dave has been on during this series, and he continued it in this one.
He certainly has. He's done really well, and he deserves it. He bowled well.
So this means you're going to have to come back and visit us again. You're still eligible, of course, for the rest of the season until if and when you qualify for the Tournament of Champions, as Dave has done. So I imagine we'll see you again sometime.
Well, it wasn't in the game plan, but like Danny says, that wasn't my plan coming in, but it looks like we're going to have to go with something like that, huh?
Well, in the meantime, $500 for you to help salve the wounds a little bit, and runner-up plaque as well, and we appreciate your coming as always, Peter.
Thank you, Doug.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Peter Flynn from Haverhill, our runner-up today, and now all that remains in this series is for Dave Richards to see if he can't win somebody $110 in our bonus ball contest. Two sets of brand new bowling balls from Paramount Bowling Supply also on the line. Dave looking for the match. And it'll be an 8. We've had a couple of 8s drawn in the last couple of weeks.
That's a winner.
Yeah, you think so? All right, well, we'll see. It is a winner. He called it. 8 is the winner for Jeanette Boisvert from Exeter, New Hampshire. Jeanette Boisvert from Exeter. Her guess was 8. Congratulations, Jeanette. You've won $110 cash, and you've also won a set of brand new bowling balls from Paramount Bowling Supply. And Dave, you've won it too as well, and also a set of brand new bowling balls. Now, you got to get another color from white, though. You got to get a different color. Although they worked pretty good today.
Yes, they did. I don't want to really change them.
Well, just, again, similar to what happened last week, you came up with the big marks when you needed them.
Yeah, I was pretty lucky on some of them, off the headpin and getting 8, 9 drops. And just like I said last week, and Peter was right in the pocket and just getting those splits all day long. But, hey, I'll take it.
But all in all, you'd rather be qualified now and not have to come back again and keep doing it.
And
Right?
watch the show for the rest of the year now.
Well, Dave, congratulations. We have a check here for $1,000, and also the plaque coming from the N&R Trophy Company in Winchendon, and more importantly, we're going to see you in the spring in the Tournament of Champions. Congratulations.
Looking forward to it.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks very much, Dave. Again, the qualifying score for Dave Richards of 418, which is just 10 pins fewer than he had last week, but he'll take that, I'm sure. Maybe it won't stand up, maybe it will, who knows, but 418 is a pretty good score.
Well, it's going to stand up someplace. Just to where it probably is in the middle of the pack, I think, if we look at last year's scores. But he's in. That's all he has to worry about. He can sit back and enjoy the show the rest of the year and come back for the big money.
All right, now we should also mention, just to expand on something we talked about earlier, both Dave Richards and Peter Flynn, Dave, even though he won this tournament in Stars and Strikes, is still eligible to come back and compete in Stars and Strikes doubles. And, of course, that's coming right up. And next week at 12 noon, we will have 5 brand new bowlers. Is that right?
Absolutely right. Roll-off is being held as we speak. We don't know who they are, but they'll be here ready to go.
As will we. We hope you'll join us next Sunday at 12 noon. Don't forget, coming up in just a few minutes, Stars and Strikes doubles here on the Winds. Until next week, for Dan Murphy and the whole TV50 Sports crew, bye-bye, everybody, from Park Place Lanes.